Hey everybody, welcome back to the Amateur Hour Sports Podcast. Crisis Club Monday is back after a week of a break, and before we get started, just letting you guys know that merch has dropped. You can check out the link in the description, or I'll put it below on YouTube, and I'll put it in the actual description on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But go check out the merch. There's stickers, mugs, water bottles, travel mugs, phone cases that you can check out.
Help the boy. Help the boys out.
Buy some merch, support the show. Anyways, Christ Club Monday. I finally have Colin and Roman back on the show after 3 weeks.
It's been a while.
And we're just going to get right into the Crisis Clubs of the week, starting off with the Philadelphia 76ers. They have lost 4 games in a row since their very, very impressive win against the Bucks on Christmas Day. Yep. We saw just how good Joel Embiid could be in that game. It was about a week after me and Deshaun recorded an episode talking about if the 76ers can ever contend with Embiid and Simmons on the team. We think a lot of changes need to happen for that to be the case, but we're not sure about that if you want to check out that episode. But anyways, in the last 4 games, they have lost to the Magic, they lost to the Heat, the Pacers, and the Rockets. So
they're not bad teams. The only loss I'd say is bad is the Magic loss.
You're right, and they're all on an away trip. Like none of these games are at home, but playing against the Heat and the Pacers, you have to look at those as in teams you're going to be likely facing in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Those are some games you need to win. I know the Heat game I watched the Heat game, it was 50-50.
It was close.
And there was some, honestly, there was some heroics late from both teams to put them in that position, like the Ben Simmons free throw rebound and Tyler Hero's step back 3. That was one of the most hype moments of the season for me. I went crazy watching that one, by the way. But 4 losses in a row for a team that wants to contend.
They have high expectations.
Like they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. It's clear that Ben Simmons is not really surmounting to the potential that he was given, especially by a week.
And like with Simmons, he hasn't taken that big leap in scoring like a lot of people, including myself. I thought he would be at least a little bit of a better scorer than he was in his rookie year and last year. But he's almost in a way regressed. Not like his playmaking or his rebound, but just I feel like he's not being as aggressive enough this season. Obviously, his shot is still something that teams are going to continue to ignore.
I think he's shooting the 4th most on the team. So for a guy who has the ball the most,
and for a guy who's that skilled at creating lanes to the cup, and who's historically been pretty good at attacking the rim and has been aggressive, and it's just weird to see him kind of take a bit of a step back now. If I'm the 76ers, I want him taking at least the 3rd most shots on the team. Even though they're not jumpers, I still want to give him looks where he's attacking the rim and he's taking guys off the dribble, trying to beat guys one-on-one. I still want to see that from Ben Simmons.
And what's really annoying with Ben Simmons is that this is a shoot-heavy league, and he's a point guard basically who cannot shoot the ball.
Yeah,
and the thing is, over the summer, people were talking about,
Ben
Simmons, he's working on his shot.
You were seeing videos of him pulling up from
He's going to start shooting. But he's only attempted 5 3-pointers, and we're halfway through the season already.
Pretty much halfway through the season.
Only hit 2. Both of them were in blowouts. The game was already done at the point.
Yeah, so it's not like there's pressure or anything.
Right. So he's Giannis was a bad shooter last year, and he's getting better this year.
He is getting better.
But what Giannis does, he'll airball a 3, next play, he'll pull up and shoot again. Yeah. He doesn't care about
misses.
But Ben Simmons is refusing to get better.
He's not even looking at the rim.
He's you can sag off him because you know he's not even going to shoot.
You know he's not even going to try.
And the spacing on the floor is a problem. And I said this in that other podcast I was alluding to earlier. But he hasn't stepped up like he's supposed to. Joel Embiid is not playing the MVP that we know he can potentially.
I thought Embiid was going to be up for MVP.
But you and me both thought that. We thought Ben Simmons could be an MVP caliber player in the future, but I'm not seeing the jump that I was expecting this year. I was expecting 18 plus points, but he's only putting up 15 points a game. The rebounds are going down. His assists have gone up a little bit, but he's shooting the ball less. He needs to be more aggressive in his touches. I think the same thing goes for Joel Embiid. And we all know that Philly need to go out and get a shooter because you and me were talking about this earlier, Colin. Josh Richardson cannot be your main shooter. He's more of that slasher type
You need
player.
a guy starting who's going to be there As soon as
Like,
the ball is tipped, who's going to be able to knock down
and
shots?
when it comes to bench players, you have to rely on guys like Korkmaz to be your spot-up shooter, which he's not good enough for that, right?
Yeah, like he's a good shooter, but I don't think he's good enough to be your main knockdown guy. Like I think they need to go out. I think they should have tried to keep Jimmy Butler instead of Tobias Harris.
Well, I'm sure they did. I think
they're two different pieces.
Yeah,
It's
what
true,
I
but-
think happened was Jimmy Butler decided he didn't want to stay, and the Sixers panicked and just gave Tobias Harris the contracts because they had to keep
They
him.
needed somebody.
But when it comes, I mean, I don't think they should have signed Al Horford because he's another one that's serviceable from three, but he's not your main guy.
I think Al Horford to me doesn't fit as well as he should in the 76ers system. I think on Boston he was utilized well, where his passing and his post ups and his smartness on offense really helped them. But I think for the 76ers, having Horford and Embiid as your starting bigs, that's a lot of mass to have to move around and have to utilize, right? They're not athletic players. Horford is on his, he's what, 34,
He's
35 now?
The one thing about Horford, though, is that I don't think anybody defends Giannis as good as Al Horford does.
Al Horford has defended Giannis very well in the past.
Some people call him the Giannis
on
Giannis
defense.
stopper, Giannis
On
killer,
defense,
something
he's
like
still
that.
great, but offensively, I think he's kind of that 76ers offensive system has kind of taken a bit of a step back because they lost a scorer in isolation. He can shoot. He can
Butler, Jimmy Butler, and
Losing-
JJ Redick.
Losing Butler and Redick
that's a huge shooter to
hurt
lose.
their offense a lot more than I think they realized.
One more thing on the Sixers is it's going to be tough for them to trade for that shooter because realistically their best asset to trade right now is Tobias Harris, and he's on a big contract and not a lot.
Harris, they could move a guy like Richardson, but I like Richardson.
They just
I don't
They're
know.
not gonna move
I
him.
don't know if they're gonna be
Yeah.
able to move Richardson for a guy they want. Tobias Harris is gonna be tough to move because of that contract.
Yeah,
So
I think they're gonna have to throw in a first round pick at least if they want to make a
look,
deal.
so
That's
just
for
summing
sure.
it up, right now, 5th in the East. They're behind the Raptors, Heat, Celtics, and Bucks. The Pacers are right on their heel, and I thought this team was gonna win.
I had this team
The
going to
East.
Eastern Conference Finals.
Maybe not
Yeah, I
win.
think that
win
was
I had them
Them
going to
and
Eastern
Bucks.
Conference Finals at least.
I
yeah.
had them winning the Eastern, and I think you guys had them winning. I don't know what you did, Roman. I think you had the Bucks, and I
I'm
think
pretty sure I
Colin,
had
I
the
think you had the
Bucks.
Sixers with me. But they are not playing like a team that
No.
can even get to the conference finals.
Yeah, as of right now, it doesn't look like they will make the conference finals. They'll need to do some coaching adjustments, maybe add some different pieces, switch it up a bit, because I think Philly really needs to focus their offense around Embiid and Simmons, and I don't know if the players that they have complement their
They
play
don't.
styles
They don't.
as well as other players could.
Like the Bucks have built around Giannis, knowing his
Clearly, they have
deficiencies.
built around Giannis.
They have-
Get shooters on the
Yes.
perimeter, let Giannis attack. If they double, kick it out, open shot. That's what I've noticed from the
Yeah,
Bucks.
like Wesley Matthews was a good pickup.
That was
for
a great
reason,
pickup.
right?
3-and-D guy.
Especially 'cause they
3-and-D.
got rid of
Exactly what they
Brogdon.
need.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we'll move on. That's it for the Sixers. Roman, who do you have for us?
We're going into the Premier League. We're going to go with Bournemouth.
Yes.
About time they're on.
I don't think they've ever been on.
It's about time. They've
Yes.
First time appearance.
Yes.
Yes.
They're currently 18th in the Prem.
It's not good.
They have. I know they just beat Luton Town on Saturday, but again, it is FA Cup. It does matter, but we're only in the third round. And before that, they had the odd win against Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And then Man U back on November 2nd, but they haven't won since that.
Their last 2 wins since November
brutal.
are Man United and Chelsea.
Yeah, they've
But
lost,
they haven't
But
beat
they haven't beat anybody else.
including a terrible loss to West Ham, 4-0.
And to a 10-man Crystal Palace. A Crystal Palace who are on 10 men from the 19th minute onward, they lost 1-0.
Yeah, it's just
That's poor.
not looking good.
That's-
It's not
that's
looking good right now. The only thing that helps them out a little bit with their case is how injury plagued they are.
But that's part of the crisis mode.
Oh, I know.
You have their injury list. Why don't, give us their injury list.
Joshua King,
Huge.
Nathan Ake,
Huge.
Adam Smith.
Huge. as well as the
Stacey's only
starter.
big because Adam Smith's out.
Yes.
Daniels is out,
Starter again. There's 4 starters.
and the other big one would probably be Brooks.
Yeah, and he's a starter as well who was playing.
David
That's
Brooks.
5 of your starting 11 missing. and your backup right back.
Yeah.
And your starting right back is injured. So your first two right backs are injured.
Especially for such a small club that really banks off their
Yes,
core and
yes.
they can't branch out to anybody else.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's January, it is transfer season, but they can't afford it.
they have run with this core since they got promoted to the Premier League, and it has worked very well, getting better every year, pretty much. But the forwards aren't producing right now, and I think it's largely in part to Joshua King not being involved, because he's the kind of link from the midfield to the forwards, and his uninvolvement has really made Wilson struggle, because Callum Wilson can't get going at the moment.
And he's been and same thing with Harry Wilson. He started off so bright, and then
I think it's just there's not a lot of personnel to use for Bournemouth, and I think that
Fraser's
the rest of
not
the team,
doing much either.
the rest of the team, Fraser's kind of regressed a little bit. I mean, he was so good last year.
He was
They're really struggling, and you're right. They don't have the funds to bolster in the January transfer window. So, looking at the relegation race at the moment, Norwich and Norwich is going to go down. I think Watford are too talented not to go down.
I think Norwich goes down.
I think Aston Villa, especially given that Tom Eaton is now injured, are going to go down. And you look at the teams in there. Like I said, Watford are too talented. I think West Ham are far too talented. Burnley can grind to stay up. Brighton aren't very, they don't have the best skill, but they have goal scorers. Like Maupay, whatever.
Maupay, I think. I don't know.
He's been scoring a lot. And Newcastle have been grinding out the results too. And Southampton, Danny Ings is on fire.
Yeah, someone's still got to go down.
So these are teams who look like they can fight to stay up. But Bournemouth, you look at, they're a team that are really going to struggle to stay up this season, given the other teams around them and how they're performing. I always attribute, teams in relegation fights, usually if there's a really good goal scorer like Danny Ings is right now or Maupay is for Brighton, then that's more likely for you to stay up. I know Norwich are a bit of an anomaly because Pookie has been scoring a lot, but
Pookie
if Pookie or Cantwell don't score, nobody else is scoring. They account for, I think, all of their goals except for maybe 6 or 7 in the Premier League this year. And they've scored, I think, 22. Yeah, they scored 22, and only 6 have not been from Pookie or Cantwell, if I'm not mistaken.
We had a huge month coming up for Bournemouth right now because they got to play Watford, Norwich, Brighton, and Villa.
Yeah. Those are all teams who are around relegation.
All around there. Arsenal's in the middle. Arsenal's in the middle of that.
Listen,
Arsenal's not going to get
this month.
It's FA.
This month is really gonna dictate the rest of the season, I think, because this is where the teams near the bottom are going to you got that the Bournemouth games are 6-pointers. That's a 6-point sway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
if you win 2 of those games, you can shoot right up.
Yeah, it's still tight and they can still recover, but at the moment, this is looking ugly for Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
boys.
it's only a 5-point difference from 11 to 18. So that's definitely not far. It's definitely not out of the picture that they can't. It'll be
looking good, especially given the injury pool they have right now.
It's just bad because these are not short-term injuries.
You finish your point.
Nathan Ake's out till February. So
that's
is King.
immense.
So is King.
Ake's huge.
So is King.
Yeah, those are huge players, right? And this especially because this is for January. There's a big month coming up, right?
Games. Exactly.
I was gonna ask, do you think that Eddie Howe should lose his job if they don't stay up?
No, just because of the injuries.
I don't. Even with the injuries, I think Eddie Howe is a staple there because he's been with them from League One up to the Premier League. Mm-hmm. Without Eddie Howe, they're not in the Premier League. Yeah. And this is a guy, I like Eddie Howe a lot.
Coach.
When Sam Allardyce got fired from England, I actually thought that Eddie Howe should have been strongly considered to take over England. Maybe I'm not in the majority there, but I truly believe that Eddie Howe knows how to coach. And especially, given, look at the player pool that Bournemouth have, these are not Premier League players without Eddie Howe. They came up with him, and they have excelled to this level because of him, I believe.
Look at what Callum Wilson has done.
Exactly, right?
The guy's been insane.
He was on a tear, and then he tore his ACL, and he's come back and still been phenomenal, gotten himself in the England team. So guys like that, I think, they owe Eddie Howe that for their success.
Yeah, it's he had a good stretch in the beginning, Callum Wilson. It's just he's kind of faded off. He hasn't scored in a very long time. Yeah. He hasn't scored.
Bournemouth aren't scoring much. That's
he hasn't scored since they played West Ham, and it was 2-2.
Wow.
Yeah, that was game week 7.
Wow, that's tough.
And now we're in game week 22.
Wow,
that's bad for your striker.
Yes,
that's not good.
And he's got to fix. If they want to stay up, like I said, if you have a reliable goal scorer, that's where you stay up more often than not, in my opinion. But we'll move on to the final crisis club of the week. Colin, who
Uh,
would you like to present?
so we're gonna go back to the NBA. My crisis club team of the week is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think you could call them a crisis club ever since LeBron left. Honestly,
Really?
because they have just taken a dump since LeBron left. Currently they are 10-26. At the beginning of the year, I did not have them making the playoffs. I don't think anybody in the right mind would have them making the playoffs. But just considering the circumstances that have been happening over the recent weeks, I thought it was fair to put them in the crisis club. Their only good player, Kevin Love, clearly wants out.
You can't say it's their only good player.
You can. No,
I
you
think
can.
I can. I like who? Like Tristan Thompson.
Garland?
Garland's a rookie, man.
He's still good.
He's good, but if we're gonna count like a serviceable, I don't think Garland should be starting.
Or Sexton.
Sexton's been all right.
Sexton has been okay.
I agree with you. This roster's
I
terrible.
think
but
as of recently,
I don't think this roster is that bad. I want to get to that after.
as of
But
recently, I just think Kevin Love, who has been on and off injury for the past 4 years now, he clearly wants out. I don't know if you guys saw that clip of him throwing the ball at his teammates during the play.
we all saw it. Yeah.
Didn't look happy.
No.
And there's been rumors around that he's been disagreeing with the coach.
And the GM.
And the GM. For the Cavs, I think that yes, they have good young talent in terms of like Sexton and Garland. Even Chetty Osman has been showing a little bit of life. I just think that they have a really long way to go before they are even considered in the East. And I think they're gonna just keep getting worse. I want to hear what you guys think.
Okay. This roster, like if you look at the starting five, Sexton, Garland, Love, I guess you could put Osman and Tristan Thompson. That's not a bad starting five.
It's not
Honestly,
bad, but is
it's
it
not
good
as,
though?
No, it's not good, but it's not as bad
compared to around the
as
league.
10 and 26. And there's been a lot of beef with their coach because this is his first time coaching at a professional level. That's
Okay, well, John Bayline has been a legendary coach.
staple
I know that
legendary coach
but
Memphis.
Michigan.
there has
Memphis.
been a lot of reports of players having issues with the coach already, even though it's his first season with the team.
Yeah.
That is problematic.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Love wanting to leave is a huge problem because he's on what, $30 million?
He's making a lot of money.
And teams
Yeah.
the Cavaliers are going to want a first round pick in return for Kevin Love.
Absolutely.
But other
Absolutely gonna want
teams want a first round pick from Cleveland for taking such a big contract. There's a huge crossroads in wanting to trade him. You got to look at who are potential suitors for him because the Raptors can't really afford him, and if they do, there's really no good pieces to trade for Cleveland.
there's no point.
Portland maybe could trade for him, but I don't know if that's the best interest for Portland.
Yeah,
I know that Love is an Oregon boy, but
He's an Oregon boy.
it's gonna be tough to trade for Kevin Love based on the money,
Yeah.
and the assets available that Portland can trade.
Yeah.
And you've got Carmelo balling right now. Why do you need Kevin
Yeah,
Love?
I don't think they need Kevin Love as much as we thought they did last season. They're gonna get Nurkic back. I don't know, not soon, but they'll have him back, hoping for the playoffs.
We also got to see what kind of Nurkic comes back.
True,
it's a bad
Whiteside has been playing better at Portland than he did at Miami.
Still not tremendous.
Still not tremendous, but better.
Yeah.
I think Portland could use a guy like Kevin Love, but like you said, I think they would ask a lot for Kevin Love. I think it's worth it. He's putting up 16.5 points, 10 rebounds, which is still pretty good.
$30 million you need better from a $30 million player, in my opinion. And I'm bringing it back to the Cavs roster. I think they're better than they're showing. They just traded for Dante Exum and a couple picks. Dante Booty Butt Exum.
Dante Booty Butt Exum.
I don't think he's going to surmount to much, even though he was a lottery pick. What was he? Was he a lottery?
Dante Exum was, I think, the 8th pick or something like that.
I might have been 11th.
He was he was 11th. He was out of Australia or something.
Yes. So, anyways, this roster doesn't look tremendously promising to me. How good do you guys think Colin Sexton is going to be?
Dante Exum went 5th.
5th?
Oh!
No way.
Selected by Utah in
Oh
2014.
my goodness.
Oh, I didn't know it was that high.
Okay. Wow. But
Exum.
wow. Okay, but back to my question. How good do you think Colin Sexton is going to be in the NBA?
I think
Do you think he's a starter on a good team?
Okay, well,
he could be a sixth man.
I think he's a really good scorer and a good defender, but other than that, it's not much. He's not a good shooter.
He's a good scorer when he takes a high volume of shots. He needs to shoot the ball a lot to get his points. 15 shots, 18 points per game. That's it's 16 shots.
His field goal percentage is better than it was in his rookie year, but his 3-point shooting has taken a tremendous dip
because he has to shoot more and create his own shots. This is why I'm asking. I think on a good team, Colin Sexton is your maybe 6, 7, or 8 guy.
I go 6, 7.
I don't know.
On a championship team and in a perfect world, Colin Sexton would be a great backup point guard.
Yep.
I think as of right now, he's fine as the starter for the Cavs. I'd like to see him get a little bit more playmaking because he's only at 2.5 assists. He's under 2.5 assists this year. And as a point guard, as the catalyst of the offense, I think you need to improve on that end. And especially, you've got decent players around you. Like, Osman's no scrub. He can shoot. Kevin Love's no scrub. He can shoot. You've got other guys you can feed the ball to. But I just think he needs to improve on his court awareness and getting guys good looks.
What do you guys think of Garland?
I've liked Garland. I like his game. He's really crafty. He almost reminds me of a little bit of a Damian Lillard. Just a guy that can take you one-on-ones. He'll step back in your face. He's got a smooth jumper. He's quick. I like Garland, but he's really undersized and he's a rookie. He's a point guard.
How good is he going to be?
I think Garland will be good.
You think he'll be a starter on a good team?
I think he'll turn out better than Sexton. I do.
He went much higher.
Interesting.
I do think he'll turn out better than Sexton.
Was it a fifth,
but
wasn't
I think with Garland, he's gonna need a bit of time to find his place in the NBA. Right? Coming out of the draft, he was off of a huge injury. He only played 5-6 games in college. Right?
True.
So he hasn't really been playing much competitive basketball up until the beginning of this season, and they kind of threw him in, being like, "Hey, here you go. You're the starting shooting guard." Right? I've seen glimpses of him where he's really good. I've also seen glimpses of him where he's not good. But again, that could just be
Cleveland.
It's Cleveland. He's a rookie.
Off the injury.
He's small too, right? Defensively,
he's 6'1".
and he's thin too. Defensively, he's a liability.
Yeah, guys around his size typically take a bit longer to develop into NBA players.
Yeah, I think he'll be great. I think he's going to be a really good scorer in the league 5-6 years from now. But right now, I don't think he should be your starting shooting guard.
I can agree with that. I think Cleveland are in that position.
And it's interesting because at the beginning of the year when they got John Boehline, I thought there could be some promise. He was a great coach at Michigan. He won a national championship with Michigan. He has always been in the national tournament, in the March Madness tournament. He's probably going to be in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. It's just weird to see that sometimes that coaching technique and that style doesn't always translate to the NBA.
They're two different games.
And it's also difficult for a coach who's coached teenagers and young adults who are still in school,
dealing with grown men.
Yes, now to deal with grown
salaries
and salaries,
brands to manage.
So I think
they don't got to prove anything.
I think the adjustment process is just going to take a while, but I don't see any reason to get rid of it. I think you should keep him.
Yeah.
Let him grow with the team. It's a young team.
Yeah.
Very young team.
I don't think anyone.
The team.
I think it would be crazy if at the beginning of the year they told John Boehline, "Look, make the playoffs." I think that's crazy. I think everyone in the right mind. I think everyone knew it was going to be a rebuild. It was going to take some time. I don't think I saw them being this bad. I knew they were going to be bad. I don't know if they're going to be this bad.
They shouldn't be this bad with the starters they have. This is not an awful starting five.
It's not awful.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Are they going down the same trend that the Timberwolves went down a couple of years ago, where it took them a while to finally get half decent, and they had constant first round draft picks and high draft picks, and then just finally got it together?
Yeah, with Minnesota, I think they're
a crisis club. It's just they were on 2 weeks ago. So
I actually was thinking of doing Minnesota for this week, but I got swayed. But if I'm going to touch on Minnesota, I think they are really restricted with Towns and Wiggins at being their only two pieces. Other than that, it's a full drop-off on their players.
Oh, yeah.
Their draft pick, Jarrett Culver, has not lived up to expectations at all. He's actually been a bad player on, statistically, it's bad to have Jarrett Culver on the court.
You know what that's called? That's called tournament type.
It could be tournament hype. He was good.
He was great.
He was very good in the tournament. He was good during the season last year. But was he the 5th pick, I think? Culver, he was high. As a high draft pick, Jarrett Culver, I think he needs to make more of an impact on that Timberwolves team. Like, they're relying really, really heavily on Towns and Wiggins. And this year, I will say Wiggins has stepped up a lot. His scoring has been a lot better. He's being more aggressive. His confidence, I can see, has been a lot better. But other than that, they just have nothing going for them. Like, Robert Covington has not been good this year. He's still good defensively, but scoring-wise, Covington has not been as good as he was.
They can't get it together, period.
Like, Jeff Teague is just a shell of himself, what he used to be.
Jeff Teague can be your facilitating point guard with a good team, but
I think Jeff Teague would be a backup point guard.
There's a backup. I don't
He's
think
got
he's
I'm saying he needs good players around him to be able to facilitate. But he's not going to make your team any better.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens to this team if Cat leaves.
It's just chaos.
Oh Lord,
it's just absolute chaos.
He's a good fit with Golden State. Me and Rowan were talking about this.
Yeah, that would be
if Golden State picks up Cat, that would be interesting.
But he fits Golden State very well.
Yeah, he does.
He fits
the whole system.
They both complement each other very well. So
I don't even want to think of it.
We'll end it there. Thank you to Colin Rowan for being on the show. Like I said at the start, merch has dropped. I'm gonna put the link in the description. Go check it out.
Go get yourselves a nice phone case.
Follow us on Twitter at AmateurPDC on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Like the video if you liked it. Follow on Spotify. And we post every single day, so we'll see you tomorrow for another episode.